The Xbox leaks just keep rolling in. Not only do we get the massive late Monday night leak of the Xbox Series S, which set the gaming world on fire, but we also had Xbox really roll with the punches and confirmed the price point of the consoles and also the release date of the consoles. And now we have a secret showcase event leaked online, which has a lot of top Xbox executives talking about the new consoles. But not only that, they also do a deep dive into the power of the consoles and what they plan to do for the next generation. Phil Spencer was one of the executives on hand, and also a lot of people that run the Xbox ecosystem and help shape what Xbox is going to be. Now, if you remember last week, after all the console leaks happened and the gaming journalists ran crazy with everything, Phil Spencer actually tweeted out talking about how the leak was unfortunate and that they had an entire event planned for next week. Well, it would seem that this leaked event was the showcase he was talking about. And what's special about this event is that it wasn't supposed to be an event that we saw. It was supposed to be for the press media and for journalists to report on. There was an embargo on the show, and a lot of journalists were given the privilege to report on the reveal of the Xbox Series S, including other technical information on the new consoles. But that's obviously not what happened. Instead, it was released to the public, and now everyone is open to this information. Does it suck for Xbox that this happened? Of course it does, but honestly, it's great for us gamers because we can now talk about all of this information and also build up even more hype for the next generation of consoles. And that's exactly what I want to do in this video. I want to talk about the event and give you a rundown on everything that was said, because there's a lot of information in this showcase. And for me, it shows exactly what Xbox has in store for us this entire generation. And there's a few big points of information that seems to be the vocal point of what Xbox really wants to hone in on for the Xbox Series X. So without any further delay, let's get into this event and let's see if Xbox has a solid plan to dominate next generation. But first, like always, if you like the video, hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. Alright, enough of that. Let's get into this event and talk about what each and every person said, because there's a lot of really good information here that shows exactly what Xbox has in store for us, the gamers. So the first person that was interviewed at this secret event was Phil Spencer himself. And of course he was, since he's the leader of Xbox and this entire next generation is kind of his baby. It's his vision that he's built for several years, and he's also put a lot of people in charge at Xbox in positions they're in now. Now, usually when Phil Spencer has an interview, he does have a lot of good things to say and also gives us a little more information into the Xbox ecosystem. And that's exactly what he did in this interview. He not only discussed the consoles and what each console's purpose was, but he also talked about content and the first-party studios. But first, let's talk about the consoles, the Xbox Series S and the Xbox Series X, because those are the two most important aspects to this interview, and one of the main reasons this secret event even took place. It was mainly to announce the new Xbox Series S console and give gamers an affordable way to join the next generation of consoles. And that's something that Phil Spencer really hit home with. He not only talked about being the most powerful console on the market, but he also mentioned being the most affordable. And that's something that I feel Xbox has been emphasizing for the last year and a half. Ever since Xbox announced the Series X consoles or the Project Scarlet, they said they were aiming to be the most powerful console on the market. And that's exactly what they did with the Xbox Series X. It's something that Phil Spencer kept talking about. He mentions that not only the GPU will be powerful with new architecture, but the CPU and the SSD really bring the console into a completely new generation. And that CPU and that SSD that will be in the most powerful console in the world will also be in the Xbox Series S. The only difference with the two consoles is the GPU, which if you've seen some of the leaks is only going to affect the resolution of the consoles. It's why the Xbox Series S will run games at 1440p resolution and up to 120 FPS. That's a steal of a console, especially at $299, and truly is something that no other competitor can match. Which Phil Spencer mentions in the interview. He said that Xbox won't be outdone in power and price when these consoles launch, and that they aim to come out as the most powerful console and the best price, which they accomplished that with flying colors. But he also said to expect that type of commitment to console gaming for years to come, and that it's their standard to be the best priced and powered. Now, as a gamer, I have to say that it's great to hear Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, saying that, because I always love good competition, and I always love to see someone respect their customers in a way that Xbox does. For them to make a public commitment like that does make it sound like Xbox will be in the business of gaming for a very long time. Long gone are the dumb fear-mongering antics that people ran with, where they said Xbox was going to be leaving gaming and Microsoft doesn't care anymore. This leaked event and everything that Xbox has shown for the last couple of years is the reason why I think Xbox is committed to gaming in a big way and more than they've ever been. Which brings me to the last thing Phil Spencer said, and probably the most important thing, which was the content that will be coming to Xbox. Phil Spencer specifically mentions that the first-party developers they invested in was critical to their success and the future of the Xbox as an ecosystem, and that he heard the fans cry out for more content that could come to the Xbox ecosystem. To me, this is the most important aspect of this event and probably the most important thing that anyone said during the event. Because for years, gamers including myself have said that Xbox needs to bring out first-party games they can hang their hats on. And Phil Spencer specifically mentions the amount of first-party studios they have now and how the feedback of fans really drove them to invest in more developers. Not to mention bringing more content to the Xbox Game Pass, which is basically Xbox now. It's a great piece of information, and honestly, it's something I'm extremely happy to hear from him. Because while the console is awesome and a critical aspect of a person's purchase, what's equally important or even more important is the amount of entertainment or content you bring to that console after we invest in it. This generation didn't start off great for Xbox, but over the years, you can see that they invested a lot into developers and brought up some of the best games of the generation. And they will continue to do so when the Xbox Series X consoles launch. That's the whole point of getting a console, right? To play games and enjoy the games we love. Well, it looks like Xbox will provide us some great first-party games and of course the best-looking third-party games. I don't see how you could go wrong with an Xbox console next generation. But now let's move on to the other interviews and what they had to say. So we obviously had Jason Ronald, who is their lead architect of the Xbox Series X consoles. Now, this interview was actually the footage released by Xbox last week. He had a pre-recorded segment where he talks about the consoles and the power in the box, not to mention the Series S and what it brings to the table. Now, of course, this interview is very technical and pretty informative, but it's also things we've heard before. The Series X will be the most powerful console on the market, and the Series S will be pretty powerful, but at a more affordable price. And I'm sure you've seen Jason Ronald and his epic beard making the rounds lately, talking about the next generation consoles. He's extremely informative and talks about the consoles in a concise manner and always gives us great feedback on why they made certain design decisions and why the consoles are spec'd and designed in certain ways. But since we covered his segment last week, let's move on to other interviews that were on the showcase. The next few interviews revolved around Sarah Bond and Liz Hamren, who are both extremely high in the Xbox executive chain and both talk about very different aspects of the Xbox ecosystem. Let's start off with Sarah Bond, who, if you remember, was on the stage of E3 talking about Xbox Game Pass and how they want to expand the service into the best service in gaming. And from what we've seen, they're doing just that. Xbox Game Pass has turned into the best service in gaming and one of the best services in entertainment. And again, Sarah Bond talks about the same important aspect that Phil Spencer talked about, which was the content on the Xbox ecosystem is the key to the success of the console and for Xbox as a brand. Not only on the console, but also on PC, where Game Pass will be a full-fledged feature from here on out. But the biggest announcement didn't just come from the Xbox first-party studios, but it was also the partnership Xbox made with EA, where last week we found out that EA Play will come to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members free of charge. And not only on the Xbox console, but to everyone on PC that has Xbox Game Pass Ultimate at no extra charge. This is a huge gift for Xbox and adds even more value to the Xbox ecosystem. It's such a great way for Xbox to showcase the next generation console launch and its future. And like I said before, the main attraction to a gaming console is the content provided on it. So let's hope Xbox continues to add value and content to their already stacked console. But lastly, let's talk about Liz Hamren, who really honed in on the value and specs of the Series S console. And a lot of what she said was pretty simple. The console is going to have a complete next generation experience at 1440p and 120 FPS. And she said that the main feature that a lot of gamers wanted was higher frame rates, which the Series S can do, and obviously the Series X can accomplish because of the CPU they put in both consoles. And I'm glad they touched on this because it does put to ease a lot of the concerns some people had with the next generation consoles. There was rumors that Assassin's Creed Valhalla would run 30 FPS and all these games would start running 30 FPS again, which didn't make any kind of sense considering the CPU on these consoles is a powerhouse, and that the CPUs we had this generation were super underpowered and held developers back a lot. But now with this new performance, it's great to see Xbox concentrate on the CPU and how it will truly bring us next generation performance. And to be honest, it's something that Sony hasn't talked about a lot, and I'm hoping they do that in their event when it comes up later this month. Because performance is one of the biggest jumps we will get next generation. These CPUs will push gaming to a level console gamers have never seen before, and allow developers to create games at such a high frame rate that it will completely change the way we see gaming. So again, I'm happy that Xbox brings this up on multiple occasions. And that's everything that was brought up in this leaked event, which was a lot of information, but a lot of great information that shows Xbox is coming to this generation ready to fight. They aren't sitting back and allowing any other companies to take the lead. Instead, they're very proactive in trying to make Xbox the best place to play your games. And from the looks of it, it looks like they're hitting the mark. I say that because the Series X will run games at the best performance possible. Xbox will also have the best service in Xbox Game Pass, not to mention you'll be able to play all your games where you want and when you want with xCloud, and having your games on PC also. It's such a great ecosystem, and I'm happy this event leaked. Does it put a damper on all the hard work Xbox put into the event? Sure it does, but for me, I'm just happy to hear more news from Xbox, and I'm happy they took the time to explain a lot of these features to us gamers. But enough of what I think, tell me what you think about this. Do you like what Phil Spencer had to say? Should Xbox be this confident in their system? Which console will you be buying? What can Sony do to combat Xbox Game Pass? Will the PS5 match the price of the Series X and the Series S? What does Sony have to announce at their event to beat what Xbox has done? Is content king for when it comes to buying a console? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support helps out the channel more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. Plus, I love interacting with everyone there, so get on Twitter and let's talk about gaming. Also, follow me on Xbox Live. My gamer tag is Zalker87, just like my channel name. See what games I'm playing, and let's compete in achievements for the month. Right now, I'm playing Marvel's Avengers and a bunch of other games. I started playing Company Heroes again, StarCraft. I'm getting kind of into the strategy thing and enjoying Marvel's Avengers a lot. I'm playing just the campaign right now. Haven't really jumped into the multiplayer, but I'll get into that too. And I'm also looking at all these other games announced. Like, everything is just going crazy. Ubisoft's about to drop a lot of games, and gaming's going to get really crowded soon. And that's just great for us because it gives us more time to play games in the trying times that we're facing in the world right now. But tell me what you're playing. Go down below. Are you working through your backlog, or are you playing Marvel's Avengers or any other game? Let me know what you're playing down below. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.